money supply, saying that money supply has increased in the market. There is a surge in the money supply, and also there is an increase in the cash that is being circulated, right? Cash circulation has increased in the market, and also we can see more and more people storing more and more money as deposits with the banks, right? So in this context, we'll see what is this money supply, how does it affect the growth of our country, what is the impact of the money supply on inflation, and what should be the way forward. So to start with, a simple, so the definition for the money supply is total stock of the money circulating in the economy. What does this mean? This means all the money in the people's hands, that is one component. All the money we kept in the banks as deposits, right? All this comes under money supply, right? All the money that is in our hands, and also all the money which we have kept in the bank as deposits, right? It might be a normal savings deposit or a time deposit, any deposit with the bank. All this comes under the definition of money supply. This is very important with respect to economics, because this is what the RBI or the government is trying to play with, this money supply, to improve the economy. So we have to know the dynamics. So there is another term called currency in circulation, right? What is this currency in circulation? We can make it out by the name itself, that currency in circulation is nothing but all the currency notes and the coins with the public, plus all the cash with the banks, right? This is called currency in circulation, right? What is currency in circulation? All the currency notes and coins with the public, plus all the cash in hands with the banks. What all money the banks have and what money we have in our hands. All this makes up currency in circulation, right? We'll be seeing how this is different from money supply. And there is an other term called reserve money. Reserve money. These are all some basic terms which we have to know in order to understand economics in a better way, right? If we know these terms, we can read the newspaper very easily. So reserve money. Now this is called M0 also. M0. M for Mumbai. M0 reserve money component. What is this reserve money? This is basically currency in circulation plus bank deposits with the RBI. Now banks also deposit some money with the Reserve Bank of India, right? In various ways, banks have deposits with the RBI. So this reserve money is nothing but currency in circulation plus banks deposits with the RBI, right? These are some two important terms which we have to know: currency in circulation and reserve money. Now coming to the money supplies definition, right? Money supplies actual and exact definition is currency with the public plus non-bank deposits with the banks. As we have discussed before, simply what was money supply? The money which people have in their hands and the money which people have kept as deposits in the banks, right? Out of this, banks also keep some deposits in other banks, right? That we have to not include in money supply, right? So money supply's definition is currency with the public plus non-bank deposits with the banks, right? Only those deposits which the public have made, not those deposits which banks have made, right? So this is money supply's definition. Now money supply has three different components. They are called M1, M2 and M3. So what is M1, what is M2, what is M3? M0 we have discussed, that's nothing but the reserve money. So coming to M1, M1 is currency with the public plus demand deposits with the banks plus other deposits with the RBI, right? Three components are there in M1: currency with the public plus demand deposits with the banks plus other deposits with the RBI. Now we'll see component wise. What is currency with the public? We have discussed before. That is there in M1. And demand deposits with bank. Demand deposits means the normal deposits which we make, right? the money which we can easily draw from the bank by using a debit card or by directly going to bank and asking money, that is demand deposit. Time deposit means fixed deposit or recurring deposit, right? We can save money in banks in two ways. One is demand deposit. That means whenever we want, we can demand the money and get back it, right? That is called demand deposit. Other thing is time deposit. That means fixed deposit or recurring deposit. We call it FD also. These are those deposits for a particular time period, right? Till that time period, we cannot draw the money. Like we can draw the money, but we'll not get the returns, right? We'll be storing money with the banks for some 2 years or 3 years or 4 years. Those type of deposits are called time deposits. Demand deposits means those deposits which we can demand from the bank at any time, right? So now this M1 deals with currency with the public plus demand deposits with the banks plus other deposits with the RBI, right? These three components are there in M1. Now M2. M2 is also money supply, but a different component of money supply. M2 is M1 plus post office savings. Not only in banks, but we save money also in post offices also. In post office also, we can have some savings accounts, right? So M2 is M1 plus post office savings, right? This is M2. Now what is M3? M3 is M1 plus time deposits with the banks, right? M3 is M1 plus time deposits with the banks. So M3 is M1 plus time deposits with the banks, right? Time deposits means the fixed deposits and the recurring deposits, which we have discussed. This is M3. M4 is M3 plus all deposits with the post office banks, right? Now, why are we discussing about demand deposits, post office deposits, or currency in public? Because this is the money with which people can do anything, right? This is the money which the people are saving. This is the money which the people can use for consuming, right? So what is money supply? Simply, we have discussed before, it is the cash in our hands and also the cash which we have kept as demand deposit or time deposit with the banks, right? This is money supply. We have discussed different components, M0, M1, M2, M3 and M4, right? Why did we discuss all this? Because not all deposits are easily drawable, right? We can't demand money from the deposits anytime we want, right? For example, if we take from a fixed deposit, it is difficult to draw money compared to a demand deposit, right? If we have a demand deposit and a fixed deposit, we'll go and try to draw money from demand deposit. So here liquidity is another term which we have to know. Liquidity and money supply are two different things, right? We should not get confused with these two. Usually we try to use these two terms interchangeably, but money supply and liquidity are different. Liquidity means how easily we can access money. Now just imagine there is cash in our hands. This is first case. Second case, there is cash as deposit in the bank, which is easy to draw. The cash in our hands, right? So cash in our hands has more liquidity compared to deposit in the bank. Now take another case, a demand deposit in the bank and a time deposit in the bank. Demand deposit is easy to draw compared to a time deposit, right? So liquidity is more in demand deposit than compared to liquidity in time deposit, right? So in this way, based on liquidity, that means how easily we can access money, this money supply is divided into narrow money and broad money, right? These terms also we might be seeing here and there. So narrow money and broad money. What is narrow money? The components which we have discussed, M1 and M2, they are called narrow money. M3 and M4, they are called broad money. M1 and M2 are called narrow money because easy liquidity. Just see the components in M1 and M2. We have currency with the public and demand deposits with the banks, right? Compared to demand deposits, if we see M3 and M4, time deposits is there. Time deposits it's not that easy to draw money compared to demand deposits. That means in demand deposits, liquidity is more compared to the time deposits. That's why M1 and M2 have more liquidity and they are called narrow money. M3 and M4 have less liquidity and they are called broad money, right? This is narrow money and broad money. Now, anywhere if you see narrow money or broad money terms, easily you can go to these definitions and get the clarity. Now, the M3 component which we have discussed, that is the term which is usually measured by the government to assess how much money supply is there in the market. M3 component is the component which is usually used by the government to assess what is the scenario of money supply in the market. Even in today's article, there was a mention about M3, that M3 has increased 6.7%. That means money supply M3 component has increased 6.7% in the last 5 months. So this is one observation. And also currency in circulation also increased. That's what today's article says. Now, why did we discuss all this? Because money supply has a huge impact on growth of our country and inflation of our country. Now we'll try to link this with respect to mains, like how is money supply controlling the growth and the inflation. Now, what happens if money supply increases in the market? Now, this dynamics is important to understand. So, when money supply increases, if we go by the definition which I have told, what happens if money supply increases? Currency in the hands of the people increases, right? Cash in the hands of the people increases. And what are the other components? Deposits with the banks will increase, right? These are the two things that are going to happen. Cash in the people's hand will increase and deposits with the bank will increase. This is the meaning of money supply increasing, right? Now, what happens with this? And what are the other components? Deposits with the banks will increase, right? These are the two things that are going to happen. Cash in the people's hand will increase and deposits with the bank will increase. This is the meaning of money supply increasing, right? Now, what happens with this? Cash in the hands of the people increases. People will consume more. People will spend more, right? When people consume more, consumption demand will increase. This is the first thing. Second thing, deposits with banks will increase. What happens if deposits with banks will increase? Banks will be having more money now. Now, banks having more money, they can lend easily to different people, right? When banks lend to different people, investments will increase. New industries will be coming. Existing industries will be expanding because they can get loans easily from banks, as banks have more money now, right? So these are the two important observations. First thing is, in cash in the hands of the people increases, because of which they will start consuming more and consumption demand will increase. Second thing is, lending by the banks will increase. Banks will give more and more loans. As a result, industries will expand and new industries will come and investments will come, right? What happens because of all this? On one side, consumption is increasing by the people. On the other side, production is increasing by the industries. Now, these two components contribute to GDP. We have discussed before in the before classes, GDP is nothing but consumption demand plus investments plus government expenditure plus exports minus imports, right? These are different components that contribute to GDP. Consumption, investment, government expenditure, exports minus imports. Now, if we see money supply is increasing, consumption demand is increasing and production is increasing. Investments are increasing. That means GDP will increase, right? So this is the logic. That's why RBI is going for expansionary monetary policy. That means it's trying to increase money supply in the market. Why? So that consumption demand will increase, investments will increase, and economy will increase, right? So this is the dynamics which we have to know. Only then we'll understand why the RBI is increasing or decreasing the interest rates, right? So this is one scenario. Now, what happens on the inflation? Just imagine money supply increases, cash in the hands of the people increases. That means they will start consuming more. If consumption is increasing, demand will increase. If demand is increasing, there are chances that inflation can increase, right? If demand is increasing for a particular product, obviously there are chances that inflation can increase, right? So if money supply increases, there are high chances of GDP growth, and if money supply increases, inflation is also possible. These are some trends which we have to broadly remember, broadly have idea, right? If money supply increases, consumption demand increases. If money supply increases, investments will increase. And if money supply increases, inflation will also increase and GDP also can increase. These are some trends which we have to know. Now we'll discuss the same thing in the opposite way. What happens if money supply decreases? The same logics. If money supply decreases, just go by those components. If money supply is decreasing, that means currency in the hands of the public is decreasing. That is first thing. And second thing, deposits with the banks is decreasing, right? These are the two things that are going to happen. Now, because of this, what happens? As currency in the hands of public is decreasing, they don't have cash in their hands, so they'll consume less, right? Consumption demand will fall. The second thing with the banks, as banks don't have more money now, as people are not depositing more, banks have less money in their hands, so they cannot lend more, right? They can't give the loans. Previously they used to give more, now they can't give because they don't have money. So what happens? As they are not giving the loans, investments won't be having, industries won't be expanding. So money supply decreasing, cash in the hands of people decreasing, consumption is coming down. Money supply is decreasing, money with the banks is also decreasing, and investments are coming down. Now consumption is coming down, investments are coming down. What happens? GDP can come down, right? GDP growth rate might reduce. So this is one thing. What happens, or what is its effect on inflation? Now currency in the hands of people is decreasing, right? When money supply is decreasing. Now as people don't have much cash in their hands, they'll not consume more. They'll try to consume more cautiously. So because of this, inflation also can be controlled, right? Inflation can be brought down. Demand can be brought down. By bringing the demand down, inflation can be brought down, right? So these are the things how the RBI tries to control inflation. Whenever inflation is increasing in the economy, the RBI will try to reduce the money supply so that people won't be having cash in their hands, and ultimately demand will reduce and inflation can be controlled. Whenever RBI wants to increase growth, it will start increasing the money supply, right? So that GDP will increase. So these are some things which we have to know. So having said this, something is being observed in the economy now that is different from the trends which we have discussed just now. Just now what we have discussed, if money supply is increasing, investments are increasing and consumption is increasing. But now there has come a scenario where money supply is increasing, but investments are not increasing, right? Money supply is increasing. That means because of the corona crisis fear, as there might be loss of jobs, what people are doing? They are converting everything into cash. They are ensuring that they have cash in their hands, right? Or they are storing the cash in the banks. These are the two things which people are doing. Completely converting everything into cash so that they have availability of cash, right? Now, what's happening because of this? Deposits are increasing, but banks are not lending to the market. Why? Because as it is corona crisis time, there is no security for the loans which they give to industries, because there is no surety or guarantee that industries can do well during the corona time. So banks are also not willing to give the loans. And also banks in the previous, before corona itself, they have this NPS problem, right? That's why banks are not willing to take risk now. Banks are not willing to take risk. That's why they are not extending loans to the industries or individuals. And on the other side, people also are using the money in their hands only for basic goods and services. Discretionary spending has reduced. That means previously they used to buy more amount of goods. Now they are trying to buy only that much amount of goods which they need. Because of this, consumption demand has come down and investments also come down because banks are not lending, and this is leading to economic slowdown, right? This is the problem now. Money supply is there in the market, but banks are not lending. Banks have the deposits which the people are giving to it, but they are not giving the loans. Because they are not giving the loans, investments are not happening, and MSMEs are not flourishing. And people also are not spending much because they don't have the surety that their job might exist or not. Because of this uncertainty, they are also not spending more. Now, to solve all these problems, to bring India out of the economic slowdown, the government has taken some steps. What did it do? It tried to solve two problems. First is unemployment, and the second is some surety to the banks, right? If it solves the problem of unemployment, definitely people will have some stability in their incomes, and then they'll start consuming as they did previously, right? That is the first thing. So by solving the unemployment problem, we can solve the consumption demand problem, and we can increase the consumption demand. For this, the government has come up with Pradhana Mantri Garib Kalyan Rozgar Abhiyan. You might have seen this scheme. It was in news from the last 1 week. Pradhana Mantri Garib Kalyan Abhiyan, right? So what is this scheme? For all those migrant laborers who have returned from city back to their villages, for all these people, the government is trying to provide some kind of employment, right? So this is Pradhana Mantri Garib Kalyan Abhiyan, Rozgar Abhiyan, right? So by this, unemployment problem we can solve. And once employment is there for the people, then this uncertainty or fear won't be there, and they will be spending as usually, right? So consumption demand can be increased because people will be having cash in their hands. This is the first approach. Second approach is surety to the banks. Surety to the banks that it's okay, you give loans to the industries. Government will give the guarantee. This is what is the second approach. For this, government has come up with partial credit guarantee scheme for the NBFCs and emergency credit guarantee scheme for MSMEs. MSMEs are the industries, micro, small and medium enterprises, right? So government is giving guarantee for the loans which the banks give to MSME and NBFCs. For MSMEs, the government is saying, okay, bank, you give the loan to MSME. If they don't repay, I am giving 100% surety. So why this is being done? So that banks will be lending more. Only when banks lend more, investments will increase and GDP will increase, right? This logic we have discussed before. So these are the two things which the government is trying to do: unemployment and surety to the banks, right? So this is overall about money supply. So broadly, we have to definitely remember two things. What happens if money supply increases, right? Inflation increases or GDP can increase. What happens if money supply decreases? Cash in the hands of people decreases. So GDP can come down and also inflation also can be controlled, right? These are two trends which we have to remember for sure, because even in our main answers, we can give some logical explanations if we know all this, right? Rather than simply saying we have to develop agriculture or we have to give loans to industries. If we go by this approach, definitely it gives a picture to the evaluator that we have a very much clarity on what is actually the money supply, what is inflation and what is GDP, right?